The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Get up to £500 refunded as real money for new Jeff Banks online accounts after your first month of betting. Use promo code FFP500 at jeffbanks.bet.
Chasing division. So we've seen Ballyburn. What I would say about Ballyburn is he was very impressive, but so was Marine Nationale. And it turned out that he got a solo out in front. We didn't learn a whole lot about him at all. He got pitched into a grade 1 and we learned very, very quickly, you might not be as good as was being said. So I'm not taking anything away from Ballyburn, but I think 15-8 for the Arkle. His chance, in my mind, has not improved greater or worse for that run. It's just, all he's done is proven he's alive and he can jump a fence.
Yeah, well that means that he's got a better chance than he had before Punchestown, really.
Touché.
No, but at least you know that he can jump a fence. What I'd love to see is, in a beginner's chase, getting in close once or twice and then being able to stand off on a few of them and having the scope that when you meet one long that you can take the scope and get across. So I thought his jumping was good. You can never be sure until he was out in front, as he said, he got a solo. That's going to happen in a beginner's chase because everybody's afraid. Like, De Capo went after him and he ended up getting very tired in 4th place by the end of it. There was a couple of eye catchers in behind, but I thought Ballyburn was good. I won't back him at 7-4 for the Arkle. I think that's too short. Like, to my mind, if the Turner's Novice Chase, which still should be in Cheltenham, if that was still there, I'd say he'd be 10s on to running that over 2.5.
Yeah,
I think 2 miles, like, they're trying to fit a peg in a square peg in a round hole. Now, he has won a grade 1 at the DRF over 2 miles, so he definitely has the class, he's the speed. He's got an amazing engine, this horse. Paul said that he blew up, I think, at the second last. He wasn't fully fit. He'll come on tons for it. I would just love him. I don't think Willie's fully in love with the Brown Advisory race, the 3 miler. So if they want to win at Cheltenham, they'll probably go to the Arkle, etc. Maybe he will win it. But I think that he's going to be an exceptional 3 miler. I do.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a pity that they have to end up going to an Arkle. It just seems a bit funny or a bit odd or a bit wrong or something.
Well, it worked for Kicking King, War of Attrition. Best Mate was favoured for the Arkle, but back in those days, back in them old days, there was no Turners. Now we've gone back to that, but we've gone back to that in an era where it existed. And so Willie's thought process was give these horses, like Galopin de Champs was running over 2 mile 5 and then up to 3. Yeah. I think that's what he would have been doing. It does not make any sense to me that Ballyburn would end up in a Brown Advisory this year. None whatsoever.
No, it's probably unlikely. I think he'll run the Arkle. He'll take a fair bit of beating in it, but I think it's a strong race. Firefox in the pocket, Load of Sud, they're all very decent. We haven't seen Imperial Pass yet. I thought in the pocket at 10-1. I think that's value. Second season Novice is a huge asset. Is he 7 turning 8? Like, a horse to be at the best of his career is like 7 or 8. If you're an extended, I don't mind the Galopin de Champs turning 9 because the record of Gold Cup horse at that trip is okay at 9. But generally 7 or 8 is where you want to be. He was brilliant in Wexford. The horse he beat won since and got beat since. Farn and Glory got beat at the weekend. But I still think he's an exceptional horse. Didn't get a hard time but in Navan on his first start over fences a year ago.
I don't know if Farn Glory bled or not, but he is a bleeder, and that would just always worry me with him going forward.
And in the pocket was good. I think he was 4th in the Supreme. He wins at Aintree, so his hurdle form is good enough to be a top class chaser. So I think a 10-1. I think that's value.
So I think last year Ballyburn, it made sense to be with him because there was the huge amount of hype about him as a bumper horse. That hype looked very, very real. At the Christmas meeting he was deadly, and then it was a case of did you guess right? Which race was he going for? It was either the Supreme or the Birmingham. If you guessed right, well done.
And Slade Steele went to the opposite race. They were staying away from him,
and that was always going to be the case. Slade Steele was never going to take him on. This year Slade Steele doesn't really have a choice. They have to go for that race because they're hardly going to run him in the handicap unless he somehow ends up with a decent rating, which seems highly unlikely.
No chance yet.
But I think Ballyburn is a horse you take on this year at Cheltenham.
We'll see. Like, where he's going to go next is the issue. The race, well, it was a grade 1 on St Stephen's Day or Boxing Day, and Leopardstown's gone completely. So he'll probably go to Naas the same day as the Lawlers of Naas race day, first week of January over 2 miles.
They talked about Britain as well.
Did Quiddix just win that race last year? No,
he might have.
I think he did. And maybe there or Britain, and then go to the Irish Arkle, and then the Arkle at Cheltenham. So look, he's no wild price at 7-4, and you'd have to see him again. His jumping was good. but I'd like to see him again.
Yeah, I would too.
I can't see myself throwing him into a multiple at even money on the day or anything.
No.
Maybe he could be odds on by then, but
he makes very, very little appeal in that. From a betting standpoint, I'm highly excited by him. I will lick my wounds if I back something against him. If I was to back just top of the head, if I back down memory lane, I'm not saying I was
just going to say, like, down memory lane in Navan was really, really good.
Real good. The fact that he drifted as much as he did and still went and won, I thought boded well too. And
also, what do you call the horse that won on Sunday in Punchestown? His jumping is absolutely off the scale. Touch Me Not.
Yeah,
he's 40s for the Arkle. I'm not saying he win the Arkle, but if Ballyburn ends up in the race in Naas against Touch Me Not, right, and the two of them race down to the first together, like, Touch Me Not is an amazing jumper, so that'll really test him.
Yeah, what we need to see is what happened to Marie Nationale. We need to see his jumping tested, and if he's able to pass that test, then great, that's fantastic. But 7-4, no,
it's a little short.
No. And Kicking King, War of Attrition, they were beaten in the Arkle. Didn't stop them winning a Gold Cup after.
Look, he's an exceptional horse with a great engine, so it's great to have him.
Yeah, highly exciting, but proceed with caution is what I would say. There's no point in talking about the Turners because it's a handicap, so who the hell knows what's going to line up there. But Brown Advisory, what tickles your fancy as things stand? It's very, very early days.
It's too early, really. I don't know where you'd start. Did I see Dancing City maybe entered at the weekend? Maybe I didn't. I can't remember. So check if he's entered. He's the obvious place to start because he ended up probably being, his performance in Punchestown was probably the best staying performance of the season, really.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Stellar Story just gets up to win the Bartlett. You know, those 3 mile novice hurdlers, they can wreck your head after a while, but Dancing City was very good. Better Days Ahead was excellent in Navan.
I thought that was class.
Now, he jumped a lot to his left late on, but to beat Slade Steele, it's a great performance. And I think the first 4 home in the Martin Pipe, they're definitely worth watching.
Yeah.
They were a long way clear of 5th, who was Oldcastle Demott, and he was second to Ballyburn the other day. So I see Answer to Cave as one of those 4, and also Waterford Whispers. They're down to run the beginner's chase the weekend.
The Terence O'Brien horse is the Answer to Cave. He's the kind of horse that you'd see as ideal for the National Chase.
He could be, and Waterford Whispers might be one for that 2.5 mile novice handicap.
Yeah,
they'll sneak him into the 0 to 145. Wait till you see.
Yeah,
and Key de Bourbon is the other one, but I'd say he'll go Grade 1 level. But Waterford Whispers and Answer to Cave, they could go more the handicap route, I'd say. Well,
start of the season, Key de Bourbon was the one that interested me most, and he's still 20s with Jeff. But after that debut, it's Emma Nagel's horse, Better Days Ahead. That's the one that would really interest me now.
Yeah, no, he was very good in Navan. 2.5 miles. I don't see why he wouldn't stay 3, but you just don't know if he's got the class to go and win it. I'd be against Magborough for the moment. I know he's a gorgeous big horse, but as a rule, I'd be against 4 turning 5 for Cheltenham, no matter what race they're in. If it's a Grade 1, it's very difficult for a horse that age. Like, I would say that a Supreme Novice Hurdle winner, generally 155 to 160. I think proper estimate of a good Triumph Hurdle winner is probably 145. I see them getting ratings in the mid 150s. I don't know how that can be possible. There's no way a Supreme horse, on average, a Triumph Hurdle horse can be rated as high as a Supreme horse. I can't see that at all.
I would just bear in mind
not
that
a chance.
The red hot favourite for that race came out. And I'm not taking anything away from Magborough. He was really good on the day, and he was given a very confident ride by Mark.
Look, he beats Cargese, who Sergino beats in Aintree, so the form is quite solid, and Cargese goes on to win a Punchestown. And he's gorgeous big horse. But as a rule, I just won't back 5-year-olds generally.
If Sergino is in the race and he dotted up, is there as much excitement about Magborough? No. That's the thing that would worry
But don't forget, Magborough came from France. He'd only had 1 run in the DRF. I think he finished 2nd or 3rd that day, and then goes on to win the Sprint. The Triumph. He is a lovely horse, but 5. I think he'd be far better if he'd a year off and come back at 6th. You know.
I agree. Novice hurdlers, very briefly. So the one that really stands out to me is Salvatore Mundi.
Salvatore Mundi ran in the Triumph and then won a maiden hurdle in Tipperary by 412 lengths. At whatever price he was he 1 to 10 or something. So look, there's going to be so many horses coming out that we haven't heard of. Like Imperial Pass, the year he won the Ballymore, the first run he had, I think, was in December. We'd never heard of him before then.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of horses coming out. So I would say for the moment, keep your powder dry as regards Cheltenham in March. I wouldn't be having too many bets. I certainly haven't. Normally I would, but this year I haven't. And I think patience will pay off.
And remember that this time last year, Nicky Henderson unleashed a potential superstar in Jericho de Repine, and one bookmaker cut him to 7-2 for the Supreme Novice Hurdle. And he did run, but he ended up being pulled up.
Yeah. I see he's out this weekend, or this Friday or Saturday, in a handicap hurdle after pulling up over fences. That another dramatic day with Nicky that you'll talk about. But I'd be against him now for the moment, because to go like his jump at the second. Now I know Altior maybe jumped that fence that way a couple times, but the jump at the second, a few more jumps were very sketchy. He pulls up, and now he's going to the handicap hurdle. Like, is his jumping going to be slick? It's a bit like Sergino having been in school over fences, and now he's going for a grade 1 over hurdles. It's just, to me, it's a bit iffy.
Can we get Jerry Hannon over for the commentary?
For which one?
That might be the one that gives him the real heart attack. Like, if
For
we
the
get Jerry over
handicap
to
hurdle,
commentate on Jericho de Repine in a handicap hurdle.
Wouldn't you love to see
and I love Jerry Hannon, by the way.
I know, I do too. I think he's an amazing commentator.
He's great.
He's a breath of fresh air. His enthusiasm is like, Jesus, he's amazing. To have that energy, you know what I mean? Like, we all have days where you don't feel it, and you know, you're
pull the duvet over the head, press the snooze button, and just forget about it.
Maybe not that bad, but you know what I mean? Like, you know, you can't be on a going day every day. And Jesus, he's amazing, man. Every big race, like at the weekend of the John Durkan, like the only thing we were missing was down the outside Roaring Bull just to come. Roaring Bull. If he had came on the outside and short-headed Factifile, wouldn't it have been? That's all we were missing, wasn't it?
That would have been the cardiac arrest for him.
Yeah,
that would have been the end of it.
The thing I love is with Jerry's commentaries is when they settle down. There's 2 or 3 of them, and then another one takes the lead. But when one comes again late on, that's when he really, because he goes to level 9 or 10, and then something else happens. And then where does he go? He can hit a 12, it seems to me. But
when Brighter Days Ahead fought back at the weekend, that was pretty heartbreaking stuff for him. Yeah.
I'd love to see Cheltenham bring him over for a race or 2.
Oh, do it.
Why not?
Do it.
Why not? Sure, isn't it? There's as many Irish people at Cheltenham, give or take, as English, and it'd be lovely to see him commentate on a Kim Muir or whatever. Just go over and just for the laugh.
December Gold Cup, Nevin Truesdale, make it happen.
Yeah, I think they should bring him over. Why not? Because he's some article. Yeah, he's great.
He's great crack.
Yeah,
I really enjoy his commentaries, and I really enjoyed that enthusiasm he has as well. I've one Novice Hurdle I want to ask you about, the Yellow Clay. Yeah,
very, very good in the north. Very good in Navan. Made a mistake 2 out. Wins by 10 lengths. Beats a nice summer horse, we'll say. And now he's kind of one of the favourites for the what's now the Turner's Novice Hurdle over 2.5 and the Albert Bartlett. The only thing is, I have a ban on talking about the Albert Bartlett in terms of a financial investment before the 1st of February. It's not allowed, and no podcast that there is should talk about the Bartlett between now and then. You can't.
Can we enact that rule?
The average price winner in the last 10 years is at least 20-1, and it happened again last year with another 33-1 winner.
It's a bookies race. So
talking about the Bartlett has to be banned.
I agree. Can we second that motion actually for the Trish? Can we make a note of that, please?
So every podcast should ban talking about a financial investment in the Bartlett. But he's a good horse. Is he going to win? Like, his next run's going to be the Lawlers and Ace in early January. Yeah, he'd have a chance. Willie'll have a few for that too. So just I'd hold fire. I haven't backed him anyway.
I have a feeling this is the race he'll go for. I don't think he'll go Potato Race.
The 2 mile 5.
Yeah, I think he'll go Turners.
Probably. Yeah. I'd say you're right.
There's a Cheltenham preview I've been asked to be part of. There's a couple actually. One of them is in Wexford. I really don't want to talk about the Potato Race unless we're doing an anti-post special until that Cheltenham preview night.
You know,
that's how bad the Potato Race is.
It's a disaster. The problem you have with the Bartlett is that you see so many horses that are impressive over 2.5, 2 mile 6, and you say to yourself, oh, they love 3 miles.
Yeah.
And the trainer says that horse will love 3 miles. It doesn't happen. How many horses have come out of the Lawlers and Ace where we all think, oh geez, do you see him staying on? He'd be perfect for the Bartlett. No. you have to have horses with 3 mile form. Like last year's winner had 3 mile form. He had ran in the race in Limerick at Christmas, the race that Faheen won, and also Penn Hill won. And he went on to win the Bartlett, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
So I'm just saying, you need to find horses with 3 mile form, and for a novice hurdler, it's grueler. So,
and there's always a Willie Mullins horse that's highly fancied with 2 mile 5 form.
But like, he had 2 in it last year that were very fancied, and the 2 of them ran atrocious.
Yeah.
And then they came back to Punchestown and they ran well. So it's just a funny race.
Yeah.
And on the new course, like, why is it on the new course?
It makes no sense.
It's crazy. It should be on the old track, because at least then you could travel away in the bridle for a lot longer. You come down the hill, you turn in. Whereas on the new course, 2 hurdles in the last 7 furlongs, they're bombing down the hill, they turn in, they still have the guts, I'd say, of 3 furlongs left. So it's an absolute grueler.
When you're looking at the anti-post markets for Cheltenham, what is the thing you're looking for, aside from price, what is the thing you're looking for with a view to placing a bet on Cheltenham?
Yeah, are they definitely going to run in that race?
It's their number one.
Absolutely, especially we're not even in December yet. So like, you know, let's say you wanted to back Spillane Tower for the Ryanair and the Cheltenham Gold Cup, and let's say he's 8-1 for both, and you have a tenner on to win both races. You're actually backing him at 7-2 to win one race.
Yeah.
People think it's 4-1. It's not even, because you put a tenner on at 8-1, you get back 90. You've invested 20. You've won 70, so it's 7-2. So you can't back a horse for 2 races. Do you know what I mean? You can't, because Spillane Tower will be at least 7-2 for either race on the day. So backing a horse for 2 races is kind of insanity, unless you have a big bet for one race and a small bet for the other. Then the white men and coats don't have to be quite called, but you know. So you're trying to definitely find a horse that's going to go in a race like Romeo Coolio. Gordon said he's the fast horse in the yard and all that stuff. So he looks, if he's good enough to run the Supreme, great. If not, I doubt he'll run in a what's called now the Turner's Novice Hurdle.
Yeah.
Galloping his champ for Gold Cup, he ain't running a Ryanair. Just obvious stuff. Like even brighter days ahead for the Champion Hurdle or the Mayor's Hurdle. You can't.
Yeah.
She's 2-1 for one of them, and she's 6-1 for the other. You can't back her at the moment. Sure, who knows? I'd say Gordon doesn't know.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't know, well, then we don't know. So I don't mind backing in Mayor's races at the moment. I haven't backed anything yet, but because they're invariably going to go for a specific race. Or some of the cross-country ones, the French horse, Stumptown, stuff like that, they're kind of interesting. I've had no bet yet. But in my head, I'd love to have a massive whiteboard going around 6 walls of the house, and on each race you have up on the wall, when a horse enters as a candidate, throw him up on the wall with a sticky thing. Yeah, he's a potential for that, he's a potential for that. But if you have him or her as a potential for 2 races, you can't. Like, there's absolutely no panic. Anti-post for Cheltenham has changed recently. The prices aren't as good, but you can still, like last year, I paid to wait for, I know the way you're thinking, that we spoke about at the end of February, didn't we? Mm-hmm. That he had gotten, I didn't think he'd get a rating of 145, couldn't believe it. And then, like, I didn't consider him at all for the Kimure. I just thought there was no chance he'd get 145. The weights come out and he gets 145. And I said, because what can happen when the day the weights come out, I've seen this before, where a horse gets a rating on a website and you go, lovely, and the next thing you check another website and you check tomorrow, no, that was the Irish rating and we hadn't updated that and we hadn't changed this. That's actually happened to me a couple of times.
It's actually 147.
Where it's appeared on one of the websites and you think, lovely, but it hadn't been updated properly, etc. Right? So I waited to see, was this an Irish one or an English one or whatever, and then a day or two later, confirmed, definitely 145. Anyway, so that's the kind of thing you have to wait for, is if something like that jumps off a page where they've gotten into a certain race. And as I said to you, a week before that, I gave no chance getting into that race, you know.
Well,
he'd been third to, was he third to Gaelic Warrior in LA to Tampa and Limerick? Amazing.
The BHA handicapper was begging JP and Gavin Cromwell, begging them, come on, run, do it. Thanks very much. All right, thank you.
He wasn't even given a hard time that day in Limerick. So
no.
But anyway, I'm just saying to you, there's absolutely no panic in betting back in Cheltenham at the moment. No hurry at all.
Yeah, I think the Gallop on the Champ 4-1. That's the only one that really stands out. That's a mistake.
I think that's fair, yeah. I think that's fair. He's going for the race. He's an exceptional horse. He's as good as we've seen in 10 years. He's a stone better going left-handed at jumping and staying. He enjoyed the extra 6 furlongs compared to the other day. It's a long way. It's nearly 3/4 of a mile. I'm joking. It is. And I think even though he's won 2 Gold Cups, he's slightly underrated, believe it or not.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree with you, which is why he's the price he is. Final couple of questions to you. What matters more to you? Form, performance ratings, sectional times, speed figures, combination of all?
Probably combination of all, but more so form. I do like time comparisons, but it genuinely is only on the day. That horse had a very fast time, the 4-year-old, the 3-year-old that won in Cheltenham. What's he called?
East India
Doc.
Yeah,
he had a good time now. He was good. So to me, that's an added bonus. On my website, I did a comparison one year, maybe 2 years ago. There was race was called off for a week. So I said, geez, what am I going on? So I did a video, a time comparison. Who was it? It was Energamine, and it was, what do you call the horse of McKeown and Colin Murphy's? What was her name? I'm getting old, so I forget all these
Impervious?
names. Impervious, yeah. And Impervious beat one of JP's that day, I think it was. Was it Dino Blue?
Which is why they bought her.
Yes. And the time comparison for Energamine versus Impervious that day was extraordinary. And I did it from, don't mind the overall time necessarily, but if you start from the first fence, right, that was let's say they were all 2 miles, presume they were, and 2 miles, 1 furlong. They started, I think, before the straight, and then what's good is from the first fence, but also from the last fence, and then I did it from each fence further on, but from the last fence to the last fence on the last circuit. For that one full circuit, I think Impervious was quicker than Energamine. Now she was carrying less weight perhaps, but I'm just saying it was a really good time, and she was 6-1 I think at the time for the Mayor's Chase. And if you go into the website, you'll see time comparison is a button, and when you click on that, there's a little video that I did that day of the time comparison. So if you're wondering, this is just the way I do it, that's the way I would compare times, is do it from each jump or whatever. And it's a good way just to see, because sometimes you see a performance, you go, geez, that was really good, but you'd like to know, was it that good? And even if horses running over different trips, if it's on the same track on the same day, a 2.5 miler, you might think that was a really good time. It's actually easy enough to compare it against a 2 mile race, because you might bring it forward to the 2 mile race's first hurdle, bring that one forward to that, and then compare them.
Okay. So what is the most useful aspect of time comparisons?
To back up form.
No, but if somebody watching this or listening to this wanted to do it for themselves, get out the iPhone and do a time comparison.
It's very, very simple, because if you use, say, Racing TV, right, all you do is you write down, say, if you want to do it from the first fence, you write down there's a clock on the screen, what time was it at the first fence, and you just write it down. And then maybe if you do the last fence with a circuit to go, and then you pick a few other fences, including definitely 4 out, 3 out, 2 out in the last on the line, you can actually write down, so you'll know then how much time there is between each jump, and how much time was, say, from the 4th last to the line is a good one, or from the 4th last to the last. You might say, well, that took 1:10, just say from Purvies. I can't remember the numbers, obviously it's 2 years ago, right? But if that took 1:10, and then Energamine was 1:15 or something, you'd say, holy God, that was brilliant. So, but you can use the clock that's on the screen, and then you can actually fast forward the horse. You don't have to sit there and wait for them to jump the fence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you bring it forward to the next fence, you press the time. As the horse is taken off, press pause and write down the time. Go to the next fence. As they're taken off, pause the next time. It's not complicated. I might make it sound complicated, but it's not. No,
you made it sound very simplistic. But I've heard pundits on Racing TV make the point that it's not about the overall time. It's actually from 4 out or from 3 out, and they would have various different views on why.
The overall time is relevant, but it's because if the overall time is really slow, then they've dawdled for the first mile and then they've quickened up. So you kind of have to take the overall time with some regard. But certainly, if it's a similar time, I would love the horse to be quicker from 3 or 4 out to the line than in the first mile, because that the action is getting going late on.
What would be in this version of racing where it's pretty damn difficult to get a bet on?
It's very difficult to get a bet on, yeah.
What is your one key piece of advice to people who are, whether it's either getting a bet on or how they're placing a bet? What's the one key Gavin Lynch strategy?
I think we've spoken about this before. Definitely keep a diary, keep a P&L. You have to. You're codding yourself, and don't be betting on different sports. Just concentrate on one thing.
Yeah.
And just concentrate. Like, I can talk to you for the next hour about Liverpool and Man City. Liverpool are playing Madrid tonight. They're playing Man City on Sunday, and we're talking about, and we all think, oh, we're great now because we know that Arne Slot is doing this and that and the other. So I can chat away to you, but that's just pub talk. Or I can talk to you about Gaelic football, or I can talk to you about golf or tennis or whatever. But like, me making money on football, absolutely, I'd say I wouldn't back myself at 100 to 1. And I can name you the Liverpool team and the United team.
Yeah.
And I watched the game the other day of United versus Ipswich, and
Different thing though.
after 2 minutes your man went up the wing, crossed it in to Rashford and stuck it in the net and all these things. But like, as regards making money on the amount of corners or goals at the scores, or I wouldn't have a breeze, not a clue.
Yeah.
But I like watching it. And I'd say I might have one golf bet a year. I might have 50 quid on some fella with a round to go, but I don't even like doing that because you're starting to look at it from, oh, he missed.
Yeah. You're getting annoyed then at the golfer for a mistake that he's made.
No, I just bet on Irish racing and Cheltenham. That's about it. And Irish National Hunt. I don't bet in the flat anymore because it's gone very difficult to get money on, and also the prices aren't as good as they used to be. The morning prices are definitely worse than they were. So it's hard to find value. So yeah, National Hunt from kind of October through to Punchestown, and that does me.
If I was a cynical person, I would say that a lot of the executives in racing have become too focused on the American gold rush, and they're greedy for the States, and they don't really care about British and Irish racing anymore. But hey, we're trying to be optimistic and looking ahead to the new season. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
It's always great to get to talk to you. Where can Final Furlong podcast listeners and viewers take advantage of your expert advice on a weekly basis?
GavinLynchRacing.com. At the moment there's 5 videos a week. Horses to Note, where I pick out all the eye catchers. We've had a couple of good winners lately on that, thankfully. And then there's a weekend preview on a Friday. There's a Cheltenham video comes out every Tuesday, all things Cheltenham. And then there's a preview Saturday and Sunday. So at the moment, 5 videos a week. Busy, but sure, it's enjoyable. I should be doing it for my own punting anyway, so it's good to make myself do it.
GavinLynchRacing.com. Weekend previews to complement the Final Furlong podcast, which has been on fire lately.
Good.
But to keep up with yourself.
Emmet, thank you. And I enjoyed the lunch.
Thank you for it, by the way. Thank you.
Pleasure.
It's much appreciated. GavinLynchRacing.com. If you're not already, you really should be. Thank you for watching and listening to this episode of The Final Furlong. If you liked it, I hope you've hit the like button. If you didn't, come on. And we're back with more great content on The Final Furlong podcast very, very soon, including with this man looking ahead to Ferryhouse. But by the time you've heard that, you've already made the money, I'd say, by the time you're listening to this. So this is a time travel episode. From Gavin and me, we'll talk to you again very, very soon on The Final Furlong podcast. Look after yourself and each other. God bless.
The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Get up to £500 refunded as real money for new Jeff Banks online accounts after your first month of betting. Use promo code FFP500 at jeffbanks.bet.